Hello and welcome. This is Quick Watch Workshop 2. We looked at dealing with dysregulation in Workshop 1 and now we're turning our attention to the strategies that we can use to support young children towards emotional regulation. I really hope that by the end of this quick watch you will confidently say that you can use multiple approaches to teach self-regulation. The Early Years Evidence Store recommends 5 approaches for supporting children's developing self-regulation and executive function skills. We're developing some training on executive function, so I'm going to park that for this session and just focus on self-regulation for now. Regulating emotions is a skill that we develop with other people. It's not something that we're born with the ability to do by ourselves. And we need co-regulation to support us to develop emotional regulation. So I put co-regulation in here as a quick win. When we co-regulate with young children, we teach them that it's okay to have big feelings. We help them identify emotions and emotional triggers, and we support them to manage emotions, their own and those of other people. So what exactly is co-regulation? Well, it's basically offering our self-regulation skills as scaffolding. There's lots of acronyms, but I tend to rely on the 3 S's because S is obviously my favourite letter of the alphabet. I think about it as helping children to feel safe and helping children to feel seen and helping children to feel soothed. So here's some examples. When a baby cries, we pick the baby up. They feel safe. We talk to them, we sing to them, we hold them, we engage with them. They feel seen. We make sure that they're not left alone with the big feelings that they're experiencing. So they're soothed by our steady heartbeat, our steady breathing, and our singing, hopefully. It's the same for toddlers and preschoolers, but now they're older, we can use language to help them. Another quick win is recognizing where incidental learning can support with developing self-regulation, and 90% of our learning is picked up incidentally. It's always a shock when I read that again and again. And once we understand the magnitude of incidental learning for our learning capacity, then we understand how important it is to seize every teachable moment, indoors, outdoors, at home, at school, because we can teach emotional regulation through our curriculum, through stories, videos, cartoons, role play, games, activities, but we can also importantly teach emotional regulation in the moment. So at nursery, when the bikes come out, when children are tired and hungry, when someone's feeling scared but being really brave, when there's a problem to solve. And in the Early Years Evidence Store approaches, you'll hopefully see now, as I take you through this workshop, some planned and some incidental examples. In the Evidence Store, approaches 1 and 4 recommend challenge and physical play. Now, those of you who know me know that I am a big believer in outdoor curriculum, and also that I'm not very good at maths, so that's why we're starting with 1 and 4 in that order. Emotions need motion, and physical challenges provide lots of learning opportunities for children. I'm really passionate about this because we need to get children outside and moving for so many reasons, not just emotionally. And in this scenario, the child says to the adult that the ice is too hard. So nature has provided us with a challenge to navigate here, and it's free. The practitioner here responds, yes, it is a bit hard, isn't it? And notice that she doesn't leap in to solve the problem, she recognises the problem, and the child then feels that this is indeed a problem shared, and the child will feel safe with this level of challenge. So that the next thing that happens is that the child makes a suggestion, maybe a digger, and the practitioner's response is, maybe a digger would do. Do you think you could go and find a digger? I can see one just over there. So she's giving the child ownership over solving the problem, and now the child feels seen. And this activity is providing a physical outlet for young children to explore challenge and to learn that they can problem solve when things are hard. So it's soothing for that child to go and get the digger. Through outdoor play, children are accessing fresh air, resilience to temperature variation, lower stress hormones, relaxing sounds such as birdsong, leaves, trees, and there's a calming connection hormone that comes from handling and working with materials. Boys in particular benefit from movement, as well as children who have autism spectrum conditions or dyslexia or attention hyperactivity disorders. So the prefrontal cortex that involves concentrating and following rules gets really engaged when we're facing challenge and physical activity. And the more physical activity we can put into a child's early years, the better their self-regulation skills will be later on. So in sections 1 and 4 on the evidence store, you can see lots and lots of videos demonstrating this approach in action. Approach 2 on the evidence store is about self-awareness. And this is a written example that they provide for us about Ellis, who has been rubbing his eyes and yawning whilst eating his lunch. And when he's finished, his key person, Rebecca, asks him to come and have a rest on his mat. And Ellis shakes his head and points to the blocks. Rebecca says, when you didn't have a rest yesterday, you were very tired and upset. I think a little rest might help you feel less tired. Ellis continues to look at the blocks, and Rebecca adds, after a lie down, you can play with the blocks. We can build together. Ellis nods and begins to walk over to the mat. So what sort of age do you think Ellis might be? He needs a daily nap. Rebecca is using directive language. Perhaps this little one is under 2 years old, or maybe they could be older with delayed language. But the point of this approach is narrating for children what we think they're feeling until they can learn to say it and then think it for themselves. It goes in this order: learn to talk, learn to self-talk, and learn to think. That's how the development of self-talk leads to private talk, which leads to us having an inner voice. And this is what we need to be able to self-regulate. So you can see how Rebecca is scaffolding the child's thinking in this scenario. Approach number 3 involves social communication, and we know that social communication with a more capable language user creates language development for both children. But can children manage this by themselves without our support? Not yet in the early years, and not always. So let's be prepared to get involved and to scaffold their peer-to-peer interactions. It's just magic when children develop the tools to engage with each other. And this is another approach that I get so excited about, because to me, it's pure inclusion when we support children to interact with each other. So we need to get involved in children's play. For example, their pretend play. Children are practicing being someone else. They're practicing thinking about someone else's feelings. They're using all the language and behaviour that they've learned. But what comes before this? How can we support those children who are younger and not yet at the typical milestones of pretend play? Well, the Early Years Evidence Store recommends several strategies, and you can follow the links in this approach, in this section, to examples of how, as adults, we support children by coordinating their play, by questioning their play, and by being a co-player and refocusing their play. And in this particular video of building a mummy owl's nest, the practitioner gets a book out. She gets the story of the owls out at one point, and she obviously has it in her mind that that's what they're going to do next. But the children's conversation moves in a different direction, and they're not ready for the book, so she refocuses on their interest and becomes a co-player in their play. And the 5th approach, remember we looked at approach number 4, early on because of my issues with maths. The fifth approach is about thinking out loud. So at snack time, Alina has overfilled the water jug at the tap and is spilling some as she walks back to her table. Oops, I spilled it. Alina's friend says, well, that's too much. You need to only go to the line, pointing out the top line on the jug. And the adult explains, well, perhaps Alina couldn't see the line on the jug, so next time we could show her where the line is so she can have another try. So this practitioner is seizing the moment and using this child's mistake to support them to learn. She's giving them feedback in the moment and she's providing the thinking out loud strategy. If we, a quick win for you here is just to try and get the words think, know, and remember into your activities with young children, because these are really key bits of vocabulary that help young children to develop the skills to self-regulate out loud by saying, I think, I know, I remember, which then later they can do in their head. And you can also do this through planned activities like story time. So once children are familiar with a story, you can pause at key points to dig a little bit deeper and promote talk about learning. So if you think about the Stickman story, for example, I think Stickman is being very brave because he doesn't give up when bad things happen to him. Or I know he's a stick man, not a stick, but the dog doesn't know that. Or you might say, Stickman can remember that his family are waiting for him at home, and that's helping to keep him going. So there's just a few examples for you there. So that was a whistle-stop tour through the 5 approaches on the Early Years Evidence Store. There is so much more information on there that you can enjoy in your own time and at your leisure. Thank you for watching. Do visit our website to find out more about how the Hub can support you in your practice. Bye.